Hi, very good morning to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. As you know, it's the 17th of the month and we get the SD cards out the Trimag system and the magnetosphere and upload that information onto the website. But we also do one other thing, is that we use that data to pinpoint the location of the magnetic North Pole. Before we do, I just want to briefly say a huge thank you to those people that are supporting us with a donation here and there. You know, I've said this before, you know, if ever we get ourselves into a position where we no longer need to rely on support from, you know, the general public, we'll do it. And we are working on that. This is one of the products that we've just had all the labels printed up for now. Obviously, I've sold these generators in the past that produce Clydra silver. Realised I've got a bit of a talent for making good quality Clydra silver, so we're now going to start in a few months, you know, selling that as well as generators. But we've also got as well the laser project, which is, you know, allows anyone to submit a video and we'll send that out into space via laser, you know, travelling at the speed of light. As you know, it will very quickly leave our solar system that message or that video that you choose to put in there, and will continuously float out there being carried by those photons. So we're trying our best here, you know, to support ourselves. It's something that we've not given up on and something that we continue to do. And if ever we reach a point where we no longer need to rely on you know, support, we won't do it. We'll just carry on as we can. I've always said, if I'm a multi-millionaire, I don't need anybody else's money. I'll do it myself. I'm simply saying I've got a very good and strong passion for this subject, and I'm sure there's a lot of other people out there like yourselves that feel the same way. It's a very special video we're going to do today. There's a couple of things that I want to just go over, so you know, it clarifies a few things for you. One being the discussion on the 40-degree theory. I just want to bring some over to you, and it's going to come as a little bit of a surprise, and I dare say you will have a little smile come up on your face when I explain to you that the theory cannot be debunked. It simply cannot be debunked. I'm going to explain it in two ways for you why that is, very briefly. Firstly, the scientific way. It can't be debunked because the principle of the theory is centered on how the magnetosphere, the magneto within the core of the Earth works. And the reason why the theory can't be debunked is simply because to this very day no one knows exactly how that magneto works. Not only do they not know how that magneto works, but they've never replicated it in a laboratory, despite then spending tens and hundreds of thousands of pounds on, you know, experiments that might show how it works. They've never been successful, and it's for that reason that my theory can't be debunked, because it is a possibility that I could be right, and if there is a small possibility that I can be right, and then that means that there's no reason why anyone can debunk it, because to debunk it you would have to know exactly how the core of this Earth works. So it's purely by accident that that is the case. I'm not saying that the theory is solid law and that, you know, the outcome will be what I say. I'm just saying that this is a possibility, and I'm sure that when we're talking about geomagnetics and the current magnetic pole migration on our planet, we know that we're going through a reversal. I'm sure that anyone that comes up with some of the out-of-the-box thinking and thoughts would obviously be welcomed into any discussion on this matter, because if you didn't do that, then you'd be outrolling actual possibilities. And at a point in time where you're critically analysing something, you want as many possibilities on the table so that you can have or gauge whatever likelihood could be the case. So there is no one on this planet that can actually debunk the theory, because we don't know simply how the interior of the core works. You would have to do, in order to debunk that theory of mine, you would have to know exactly how it works. To this point in time, nobody does. So there is a possibility. That is the scientific explanation to the theory of 40 degrees, which is 9 months to this day away. We'll get to that in a little bit more time. I want to explain this theory in another manner. And the reason why I want to do that is because somebody recently told their 500,000 subscribers that they had debunked that theory, which, as we all know now, is impossible to do. But I want to explain on a level that he might understand, and that is, as far as I'm aware, because he is law trained and not science trained. So this might come as a bit of a shock to a few of you people, but in my younger days of studying, I also took up a law course, and I'll now explain for his benefit, which might be a little bit more way that he can understand what we're talking about, this issue, albeit maybe in an arena more fitting to him. So in order to convict somebody of a crime, you would have to prove them guilty in two ways. One would be mens rea, which is Latin for the mental act, and the other one would be actus reus, which is Latin for the physical act. If there was a possibility that in the evidence submitted, to prosecute that person, if there was any possibility of doubt, a jury could not come back with a guilty verdict. Now, in the case of my theory, there is an element of doubt because there is a possibility, because it can't be proven how our core works in our planet. So I hope I've clarified that for that person on a level he might be more befitting to understand. So let's get into the data. I've updated the website with the magnetosphere and the TriMag data. But before we get into that, remember this, what we was talking about the other day with regards to the experiment. The closer it got to 40 degrees, the faster it moved over the northern hemisphere. Look at this, going back to the 1900s. We can see that from 1900s to 1990, the distance that the magnetic pole migrated was 500 miles. But from 1990 to 2018, and I do for my sins have to update this chart on the website, but nevertheless you can see it covered 1,000 miles. It doubled its distance, and you can imagine that when the pole migrates, it's going to go vertical, isn't it, this line, and we're not far off that going vertical. So the closer we get to the magnetic pole migrating, the more vertical that chart will cover. That will be an indication, just looking at this chart, that it will be covering more distance over the same period of time that we record it. So let's have a look at the TriMag data. And the only reason we're looking at TriMag data is because we have our own equipment. We have our own TriMag system. This is a piece of equipment which is bespoke. I do believe if you should try and get someone to manufacture it, it'd probably be in the realms of over £200,000, because the level of people you would have to employ as part of the project of building something like what we've got, that would require a large skill set, not just electronic engineers that can put the necessary components together, but also the programmers, so that the equipment does exactly what you want it to do. If you remember, this was around 2.5 years work of development here at the observatory, building this equipment so that we could monitor and track the actual position, which we're going to show a little bit later on in the video, of where the magnetic North Pole is right now. But as you can see on the chart, we're still banging around the 13.5 on the chart, and that is an indication that the pole is still migrating easterly. We'll have a look at exactly where that is on Google Earth a little bit later on. Just want to go over to the magnetosphere data, because over the last week we've seen a slight increase for some reason. What we're going to start doing at some point is cross-checking the data that we collect on the magnetosphere with solar activity. And if we get slight upticks in solar activity, it might correlate to why we see there over the last week slight increases in the microtesla over that period of time. So, you know, again, we're different to other channels out there. You know, we actually collect our own data. We've not just got magnetometers here. If you've been following me for a while, you'll know that we've got magnetometers in other countries. We've got also another piece of equipment which you would necessarily need if you're monitoring cosmic rays inbound in our upper atmosphere. And of course what I'm talking about is those muon detectors, because those are byproducts of collisions in the upper atmosphere, smashed particles. When cosmic rays come in through our upper atmosphere, they collide with the particles in the atmosphere, causing these subatomic particles, muons. Well, we've got muon detectors, another component which we manufacture here. Again, this is what sets us apart from anyone else, especially on YouTube, that talk about this. Not only do we have the qualifications, we have the actual means to do the scientific work in gathering that data, in that we have things like CO2 detectors, oxygen sensors, magnetometers, muon detectors, and of course our all singing and dancing Trimag system. You couldn't pinpoint the magnetic North Pole without the Trimag system, and again, that's what separates us from all the others that go onto websites like NASA, the European Space Agency, looking at space weather and just regurgitating basically what other scientists are talking about on those channels, bringing it back to YouTube and presenting it in your own manner as though it's your own work. You can't do that. You know, if you want to do a more honest approach to, you know, studying the geomagnetics and mechanics of our planet, I think you have to have a bit more of an input, and that's what we do, and that's why we're different to anyone else. And I guess that is also why people support our efforts in, you know, the study of the magnetic North Pole migration across this planet right now that we're in, which is a rare event, and I feel more than what a lot is going on recently. I mean, you know, if you do look into all these things, you'll find that the magnetic poles are really something that is actually happening and worth monitoring, as opposed to some of the other theories out there with regards to flat Earth, Planet X, Blue Star Katrina, and all the other things, you know, that's out there. This is an actual event that is actually taking place, and is also supported by some of these larger organisations. But the thing is, what separates us from those organisations is whatever we reveal it honestly to the general public, and that is largely because a few people have chosen to support us. And for the moment that we've all been waiting for, the latest magnetic North Pole position. As we can see, as was anticipated, we have migrated 5.15 miles over the last month, giving the latest latitude and longitude for those that are following as follows: 82 degrees by 23 hours 3 minutes 80 seconds north, by the longitude 118 degrees 14 hours 31 minutes 13 seconds east. And that's it, guys, for this latest position of the magnetic North Pole. We are, as was mentioned in the previous videos, 9 months away. If you do the calculation, 45 miles left to the 40 degree mark, 9 months on average, 5.1 miles gives us exactly 9 months. But then this is just a theoretical point. We'll have to wait and see. A lot could be going on, is the real situation, and you know, anything is possible. So guys, I'm going to be later on spending the evening with my daughter and son. They're coming over for Jean's famous hot dogs on the run, and you know, I encourage you to do the same thing with your loved ones. There is a link down there if you want to help support what we do. We are trying to support ourselves as well, and hopefully in the not too distant future we'll be in a position to do that. But until then, unfortunately, we are going to require a little bit of support, and I know that you guys out there that do support us don't mind doing that. You know, you make the effort just like we do, and we have gone to some extraordinary efforts, you know, to inform you of the current progression of the magnetic North Pole as it takes place. Guys, the only thing left for me to say is there's a link down there if you want to help support us. You can become one of our patrons if you want, and as always, bye for now.